And welcome back to Visceral Reactions, your regular stop for irregular amounts of horror. And you know what we say here, the second take is the best take.
Yeah, that's why we're laughing. We have to redo it.
I'm Matthew
I'm
Germanis.
Quentin Williams. Christ.
And today we are doing the remake of my second favorite horror movie of all time, and definitely my favorite horror franchise, which is the 2003 remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And as we were just discussing in the first take,
It was only like a 30-second take.
yeah, you didn't miss much. We were just saying how that's, somewhat of a hot take in terms of
Because
favorite
from what
franchises.
I've seen, is there's a lot more bad movies in this franchise than good.
I will say that the only bad one is the most recent one. And even then, it's still interesting to talk about,
Do you even
but
like
not fun to watch.
Do you like Next Generation?
Yeah.
I say that like I've seen them. I haven't seen a lot of them, so
Yeah.
take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, we'll go through the timelines.
Okay.
Um,
Perfect.
yeah, because it's kind of confusing, or it can be confusing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be doing the remake.
Yes, which I would like to say, even though last week was a bit of a stinker of a movie for us, even though we've been on a hot streak. Ooh, we're back in it. This is a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
This is an amazing movie. And I don't say that like with any exaggeration. This is a well-made, put together, just all around really good horror movie.
Yeah.
This is, I cannot sing its praises enough.
It's unfortunately it got shit on a lot.
I don't know why.
When it came out, and honestly, it's one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. Really quick, like anecdotal thing. So in middle school, one of my best friends, Nathaniel, he had a like 2-story house, and in the first floor was a like den-ish area with these 2 large sliding glass doors that led out to the patio. Ooh. And I slept over his house a lot, especially like during the summer.
Huh?
I think there were curtains,
Okay.
but they were almost never,
Okay.
because I mean, it was just into his backyard. So like, in terms of privacy, like there's no one to have privacy from.
But like a window to the outside with no
Yeah.
curtains is always creepy to me.
Well, it gets even creepier because we would stay up really late and we would watch scary movies. And a lot of the things that scare me the most, movie-wise, are things that we watched together in his house with those doors.
Because that
exposed.
means anything could come and get you.
Exactly. And, it didn't make things any better that, like, if you were to jump over the fence of his backyard, you would be in the field, the baseball field of our middle school.
Oh, so he's right there.
Yeah. And, like, that field at night is scary as shit. So, we would watch things like fear.com, which I know is like a lot of people think it's shit, but like honestly, when you're 12 and it's the middle of the night and there are things moving outside, it's terrifying. The second and last time that I watched The Ring was in his house.
Oh no.
And that was 19 years ago. So, and one of them was the Texas Chainsaw the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And when I tell you that the moments of Leatherface coming out from behind things, and
like a fucking wall.
yeah, like when he grabs Aaron through the wall towards the end, any moment when he would slide open or slide shut a door, like that kind of stuff, those terrified the hell out of us. Like we were just, it was dumb, like how scary that was. And for whatever reason, that couch, there was like this really long couch that he had, and there was like nothing up on the wall behind it, and the couch made kind of it made kind of a noise.
A creaky noise?
Yeah.
Were there springs in it?
No, it was leather.
Oh, okay.
So it had like,
Yeah.
you know, like when you would move, there'd be that. Yeah. And that just made things worse. And so, regardless of quality, this has always had a special place in my heart for scaring the shit out of me. And for that, and even if only for that, like I respect it a lot, because even rewatching it for this, like it still holds up. Like this is aged very well. And I'm glad that we're getting to talk about it. Like I know that it's weird that I don't know, I guess when it comes to franchises, we've avoided them.
Yeah, we don't.
For better.
Yeah, the only one we haven't talked about is Friday the 13th.
Yeah, in terms
we
of
haven't
big
done a
ones.
movie, yeah.
Yeah. And even the others, I mean, aside from the original Halloween and New Nightmare.
Yep.
That's it. It's
Candyman, like, technically.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, if you want to put...
Alligator has a sequel. I mean,
yeah.
Some of these films have had sequels.
Yeah, but in terms of like the
franchise,
the slasher franchises, we've taken a somewhat unusual, which is good, because I mean everyone has seen those a million times. Like, you know, unless we're doing a reprisal of like Jason Goes to Hell or something, you know, I think something like this, where we're dealing with the remake and not the original, and definitely not the new Netflix version.
Right.
I think can be, and hopefully will be, very rewarding. Yeah, because like I guess this will be a way for us to talk somewhat about the original.
Yes. Just kind of how we did with like Evil Dead 2. We talked about Evil Dead.
Yeah. Just kind of like you get somewhat of an idea. So in terms of like the little framework, I guess, like the angle that I'm taking this is has to do really, this sounds obvious, but the violence.
Right.
Like not the violence that's in it, but what the film is saying about violence.
Yes.
And so if the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was Tobe Hooper's way of speaking to the senselessness of violence, especially at a time, I mean, the movie comes out in 1974. We're still in Vietnam.
Right.
We have racial protests for the past like 20 years, like, you know, prior to the movie, where cities have burned to the ground. Mm-hmm. We've had the rise of, in just a couple of years before the movie, the rise of serial killings.
Yes.
And so like all of that.
Manson family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the
Son of Sam, all of the...
Yeah. Son of Sam will be...
Yeah.
Yeah, Night Stalker's in the 80s. Son of Sam is in 1977. And the Zodiac killings, I believe, are also before.
Okay. So I got a bit ahead.
Oh, no, it's like half of them.
I know.
You know?
It was all in the 70s. Yeah.
But it's right in the middle.
Yes.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Is that like, you know, I mean, even Dirty Harry is using the Zodiac killings for the first movie. So you have that, and I think that the remake is very much doing a lot of the same. And just looking at that, the remake is released in the same year that the United States invades Iraq.
Right.
And this is almost 2 years after we've invaded Afghanistan, which is right after the immediate, the immediate aftermath of 9/11.
Yeah.
This remake, I guess we can just stop calling it a remake, just this version.
Yeah.
I honestly think is like just as politically charged as as the original. And
then you can like probably like argue vague police brutality.
you could,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think
Even if the police in his immediate family are all crazy.
yeah. Yeah. And I think that by emphasizing the cultural divide between North and South,
Yes.
this very uniquely American form of violence,
Mm-hmm.
and this kind of like I think increasingly dangerous assertion of Texan identity.
Right.
I think that this new Texas Chainsaw is really giving the viewer more than what they ask for, like in abundance,
Mm-hmm.
like in an excessive amount. And I think that the bottom line is that if the film is saying that the rest of the world has changed because of 9/11, that Texas is staying exactly the same, and that you just don't mess with Texas.
Yeah. Texas has always, I felt, kind of been its own like cultural bubble.
Yeah.
Where it's like, even if it's 100 years ago, 10 years ago, 50 years ago, it kind of feels all the same. Depending on like if it's just in bumfuck rural Texas
Mhm.
or like in the cities. Just when you think of Texas, it has this overtly Americana patriotic feel to it.
If, because they've been wanting this for forever, if Texas could secede from the Union tomorrow, they would probably do it. They, like, I think anytime a state or a large body, whatever, anytime they like to think of themselves as separate from,
Mm-hmm.
different from everything else, we should just heed their wishes and let them do it. Like, let them become their own thing. That way, you don't ever have to deal with them ever again. And, you know, there are parts of Texas that are great. Like, Houston's great.
Austin's pretty good.
Yeah, Austin's cool. I mean, like, that's it. You know, like, I've never been to San Antonio, but I hear it's wonderful.
Yep.
You know, it's just like, it's a lot. Like, the state, okay. So there are, I guess, like, the movies that have scared me the most have done so because they capitalize, or at least they articulate, and I should say articulate, a fear that I already have.
Which is,
For me, driving through any place rural and getting stuck
right.
and getting killed because of not being from there.
Right.
Like, that's a fear that I still have to this day. Like, the last thing I ever want is to be stuck in a back road area anywhere. I mean, here in Louisiana, especially.
Yes.
Like, don't want it.
No.
And then just getting killed because, like, obviously, like, it happens to me on a daily basis in normal places.
Right.
Like, I can't tell you, like, in my time in the South, the number of times, like, someone has said to me, you're not from here, are you? And it's like, I don't need to be fucking reminded of that. But, like,
city boy.
it's like, I don't need that. Like, I don't go around, you know, telling these people, like, you never graduated high school, did you? You know,
Oh,
like,
God.
yeah, like, that would be shitty, you know, but I don't do that. Because, you know, if they're going to make the cultural stereotypes about me,
Right.
then I'm going to make them right back. And I'm saying all of this because this is what the movie is capitalizing on.
Yes.
This is what it is saying, that when you pit people together based on these really arbitrary bullshit regional differences, nothing good can come of it. You have in the film today, we have, like, kids from New York Wisconsin, California, and somewhere else, northern, and
Not Texas.
yeah, not even close to Texas.
No. I think Wisconsin may be the closest.
Wisconsin, exactly, and that's just because it's like all the way. And it's like, look what happens to them, because this is something that the new one does, not so much for cultural differences due to regionality, but in terms of, I guess, like in a way, just like a class thing, because it's like influencers versus rural Texas and Leatherface. Like,
you're talking about the remake or the most recent one?
The most recent one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, okay. We should probably, since that's going to be a thing. So the timeline. So the timeline. All right, so there are 4 timelines.
Yeah.
All right, we should have had a PowerPoint for
I
this.
know. We got cows.
We have cows. We have cows. The cows will teach you.
A lot, probably more comfortable cows than in any film of Texas Chainsaw related.
Yeah. Yeah, no, these cows are alive.
And not suffering.
Yeah.
In the heat.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Farm Sanctuary, explore.org. So we have 4 timelines. There's the original timeline, which has
the original
Tobe Hooper's 1974 original.
Second one.
The sequel by Tobe Hooper,
Yep.
Texas Chainsaw 2.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, that one's fun.
Yep.
Texas Chainsaw 3,
Yep.
which came out in 1990 with Viggo Mortensen.
He's in that?
Yeah, he's in it.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, he plays this guy named Tex.
Okay.
Yeah, he's really good in it.
Well, he's always good in everything.
And then the 4th one is Next Generation, and that's the one with
Renee Zellweger
and
Matthew
Matthew
McConaughey.
McConaughey. Yeah. So, and that was the one directed by Kim Henkel, who co-created the first one with Tobe Hooper.
Okay.
Like, he co-wrote and then produced it.
Isn't the most recent one also in that timeline?
So there's original timeline, and then the last one was in 95.
Right.
Second timeline is the remake timeline,
Which is 2 films.
which is this one, 2003, and then
a prequel.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, which is also really good.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, and that came out in 2006.
Yeah.
That's the end of the remake.
Yep. A duology. That's all you need.
Yeah. And then 2013, we get Texas Chainsaw. That's it, Texas Chainsaw.
Which is a sequel to the original.
Yes.
Ignoring all the other bits.
Yes. Sometimes referred to as Texas Chainsaw 3D, because there is a 3D version.
Yeah.
And then the sequel, or I'm sorry, the prequel.
There's another prequel
to Texas Chainsaw,
which is the prequel to the original.
Yes.
Technically, yeah.
Is, well, no, this third timeline confused me for a second. I'm sorry. All right, so the third timeline with Texas Chainsaw, it's a reboot, not a remake.
Yeah, but it's a sequel to the original, ignoring all the other films. Kind of like how Halloween, the new Halloween is.
It's not a legacy sequel. The new one is.
I was reading about it. It said it was a
Texas Chainsaw?
Yeah, it was a reboot, but it served as a sequel to the original.
Not really.
Oh, okay.
It's because Leatherface, which came out in 2017, is the prequel to Texas Chainsaw. It doesn't really line up with the original.
Then
TCM?
Wikipedia lied to me.
It's just like some of them will like kind of acknowledge previous ones.
Right.
And then we get to the fourth timeline.
Just ignore me, everyone, for this one.
It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. The fourth one, the fourth timeline, is the legacy timeline, which Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
It's the worst than the Halloween.
Thanks a lot,
titles.
Netflix. That is a direct sequel to 1974 TCM.
Okay. Because Wikipedia also said that one was a direct sequel to the original timeline, meaning a sequel to Next Generation. So whatever.
But like it I think it's ignoring.
Okay.
It can't. Like it I guess what? Like they I think they say at some point that there are like a couple of incidents that had happened over the years. Maybe those are referring to 2, 3, and 4. I don't know.
We're gonna have to.
It doesn't act
gonna,
like
you
it.
know, we're gonna have to watch all of them now to get a.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, that's more than fine. But yeah, it's like,
Oh.
I mean, you can have in the same, in the same franchise, like even the name of the family of like the clan is different.
Yeah, it changes.
Yeah. Like originally they're like Sawyer family, and then in the remake,
The
they're the
Hewitt.
Hewitts. It's like, even when you have something as basic as like the last name of your main character changing depending on which film you're watching,
Right.
the timelines are not.
I guess it doesn't matter.
It's like I don't know.
It's Leatherface. You know Leatherface. Bleh.
Yeah, it's like,
Ooga booga.
you just need, I guess, for continuity, really the only one that matters is the original 4 in that regard. Like, because those are very much tonally collected. Like, especially after the second one, it gets campier.
Right.
I think they get crazier, like in a good way.
Yeah, because Texas 2, it's more or less a dark comedy.
Yeah. Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that from the beginning, Tobe Hooper saw the comedic potential.
Yeah, because
the original.
there's a bit sprinkled in, but it was so like and just in your face that
just disturbed the shit out of people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the timeline
fake-ish
debacle,
Right.
mess, or whatever you want to call
like
it.
this. It's like the Zelda timeline.
Yeah, it's like, which one are we in now?
Right.
Like, which, now with the, what was it? I think, the Chainsaw, the reboot timeline. Apparently, they were gonna have like numerous sequels,
Right.
and they lost out on the rights.
Yeah, it was Dimension or Legacy, one of them. No, Lionsgate.
Yeah,
It was Lionsgate. Yeah.
and
Yeah, because they
That's
were
on
like,
Netflix.
they were going to be like, yeah, we're going to make 5 more of these,
mm-hmm.
even if people want them or not.
Now Netflix has them, and I don't know what Netflix is going to do with it. Hopefully, this is the last one that they do, because man, this one was bad. It was so bad. So I was thinking in terms of like the legacy sequels,
Mm-hmm.
and I think most of them. I think this one is one of the worst legacy sequels that I've seen, to where like it really didn't need to bring back the an
Right.
original cast member, or to like
Or character, even.
yeah, like just trash. It's just really a trash movie.
But we're not talking about that.
Yeah, exactly. Fortunately, yeah, and I think when you look at the quality of the ones that have come out in the past almost 20 years, this one stands out even more for being like something really, really, really good.
Overall, everything about it's fantastic. I mean, all the acting is phenomenal from like the Army and Jessica Biel,
Yeah.
everyone else, and this is a beautifully shot film.
You've got
The original cinematographer.
Daniel Pearl returning.
It's so beautiful, like the big backlights of like the house and stuff, and the camera angles he uses. It's a much different film, look wise and visually,
Mm-hmm.
aesthetically wise, than the original. Because the original was very much raw documentary type, and the beginning of it, the first like 15 minutes when they're in the van, kind of feels like documentary-ish. That just like changes this to just really like a beautifully, beautifully shot film, but also a beautifully, viscerally disgusting film. because the original, yeah, it's a bit grimy, but it's not. I don't think it's anywhere near the league as the remake. The remake is covered in muck and filth and just all the ooey gooey that you can think of. Even not in like the basement more than anything, but even like the main house itself, it just looks so. It hasn't been cleaned in 50 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The way that you feel exactly how hot it is
Oh yeah.
during the summer.
And you couldn't really. There, like the characters in the original complained about the heat, but I never really got a feel for the heat. But this one, yes, it is scorching.
Yeah. And between, I don't know, like little things like the pig heads in the grocery store.
Oh yeah, just covered in flies.
Yeah.
And just you can smell it.
Mm-hmm.
Just
like that rubbery look that they have.
Mm-hmm. This film was only made for like $9.5 million. It looks so much more expensive than it is, which is the crazy thing.
It just, I don't know. Like, I don't know how, that's just a testament to everyone's ability to make this look as real as possible.
Yes.
And I think part of that is because at least half of the terror doesn't have to come from Leatherface.
No, it does not.
Like, you have the family.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm terrified of.
Yeah.
Like the whole, and I mean, this is something that's, this is an American tradition of outsiders being afraid of like rural folk.
Yeah.
Because of their backwoods ways, and you got the little boy with like the teeth
Yep.
that are like growing weird. You got the woman who told Anton Chigurh that he couldn't have Llewellyn's phone records and told him to go fuck off. In No Country, and you've got the baby stealing woman.
Yeah.
And you've got
Which I think is all the family.
Yeah.
They're part of the family. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you've got like Grandpa No Legs.
Yeah.
Like
I kind of like more than just Mommy Grandpa
Yeah.
from the original.
Yeah. The way that he just like unsubtly tries to like touch Jessica Biel's
Yes.
ass is just
With this disgusting looking catheter tube.
that he's just emptying out in the it's gross. But the mainstay of the family,
And I think the scariest part of the film
is Arlie Ermey.
Yeah.
Former Marine Corps drill sergeant,
Full Metal Jacket.
turned
Actor.
advisor, turned actor.
He's fucking great.
Yeah.
He's he's a really good actor.
Yeah, he used one of his lines in Full Metal Jacket, or at least like he used a drill sergeant-esque line when what's his name? Andy, guy with the glasses.
Yeah, the most
Stuff.
70 person
Yeah.
person in that film.
Yeah.
Because everyone does not look like they're from 1974.
Definitely not Jessica Biel.
No.
You
You can
Jessica Biel is straight out of an American Eagle ad.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
like these teenagers look like they're from 2003.
But yeah,
The
Andy,
whole movie looks like it's from 2003.
yeah, but
I think that's I think that may be him because of Michael Bay because he produced it.
yeah, Michael Bay doesn't give a shit.
No, and like you can all those fortunate scenes where he has to be wet in
Mhm.
that tank top, like that's a fucking Michael Bell thing he wanted. I just know it. Michael Bay, not Michael Bell. Michael Bay. You can just with that short short, and Michael Bay was like, I need that
It's very possible.
because he's a creep.
Yeah. But Michael Bay is why they were able to make the movie in Texas.
I know, and it's a really good movie.
yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
But Arlie
yeah.
Hermie is the best part of this film. Not because the film's bad, but
he's just terrifying. Like
he's the scariest part.
when he comes on screen,
Mm-hmm.
his like you just know that he is not playing by anyone else's rules
I
other
think
than his own.
that what makes him a lot more scarier than the old man in the first one.
Yeah.
Because he's a figure of authority and he has power.
Yeah.
And there's nothing they can do about it. That's terrifying.
The way that he investigates the body
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning, like that's when you know exactly how bad he's going to be.
Even like with all the mix-ups up, like go to the mill, he's gonna be there, he doesn't show up. They call again, he's gonna be like 10 minutes, he shows up early. Like they're all of them are just playing with him.
Yeah. I guess the shock value that the movie has, I mean, from the beginning when the girl kills herself,
Mm-hmm. Right off the bat, much different than the original.
Yeah. Like the original is upping the ante of I guess disturbing.
Yeah.
By having like a taxidermied armadillo.
Yep.
On the side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one's like, what if we showed a girl blow her fucking brains out
In front of four people? Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, let's do that. And like, and it does that. And it's like, and from there you're just constantly escalating.
Yeah.
Until the very end. And it's brutal.
It never like, it's not like a sharp spike.
No.
It's just a decline of like the stuff with the sheriff and the mill and like what's going on, blah, blah, blah. Just steadily, slowly increases more and more and more until you're like, this thing's about to pop.
Yeah.
And there's the sheriff.
Yeah. And that's like right after Leatherface.
Yep.
Pops up to take Kemper.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so Erin goes back and she's like freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
And now she's got to deal with the sheriff. And yeah, it's just really just bad news bears all around.
I know.
And the amount of gore that's in this is very much of this time and also the gore that is to come.
Yeah.
What the first Saw is in 2004?
Around this 2005, 6? No, that's 2. Yeah, around this time. It's coming up.
So things are getting pretty gory.
Yeah. Because like even like slasher films in the 80s were pretty gory. Then the 90s came in, everyone just trying to scrub it clean. And then it's like...
But this is a new type of gore.
Yeah.
This is a much more realistic looking, a lot... Like, the blood that's being splattered doesn't look like tomato juice.
No, it looks thick.
Yeah.
And just gooey.
Yeah. And, like, the limbs that are being torn off look pretty close.
Yeah.
Like when...
But they also... There's gore, but they don't show a lot of it. Kind of like the original.
I mean, this one definitely shows more than the original.
Right, but it's still, to me, it's still like tamer than it could be.
See, I think that's fascinating because there were people who said when it came out that it was too gory. And I think that goes to show just what we've seen over the past 20 years.
Yeah.
And your threshold as someone who has grown up with this increasing tendency for like a more brutal kind of violence in film.
Uh-huh.
Whereas this and Saw and Hostel were coming out.
Right.
Like it was like a new low of what you could show and what you could get away with. Like seeing someone's leg get sawed off, like on screen, and then seeing like the leg not attached, and then like the bloody stump.
I know, but
You
it's I'm thinking about like we're not actually seeing like the bone being cut, the meat being cut. It's all like kind of hidden, but we see it happening. We're just not seeing like the full effect. Like here's the leg.
Yeah.
It's not like
I guess because it's a chainsaw that you can't get too close. You also, I mean, there's so much happening. Like,
right,
it's not like if you were to take a sword
right.
or, anything sharp like that. Like, it's quicker.
But also messier.
Yes. Yeah. And I think really, I think one of the best uses of gore, or if even gore, just violence
Mm-hmm.
in the franchise, is whenever people are being treated as meat.
Yeah. Oh, the hooks.
So
Ooh.
so in the first one, they couldn't show the hooks like going through,
Right.
because of the sensors.
Well, Toby, he wanted it to be PG.
Yeah.
That's
And
why there's not a lot of violence. It's a disturbing film, the original, but
Yeah.
there's not a lot of violence.
And so, like, they were like, you can't have hooks going through a person's body, and you can't show them going in.
Right.
So you just had to like hear it.
Yeah.
In the first one, but in this one, we see the hooks
Yeah.
going in.
Yeah.
And I think that's one area or one instance where the remake decides to like, one up in a way.
To just show like really how painful it would be to be skewered by a meat hook.
Yeah, it's a meat hook. And I think for a franchise where so many of the settings are in butcher shops or meat packing plants,
Yeah.
or these like basement type areas where you have meat cutting equipment.
Yep.
The reduction of human to domesticated animal
Cattle.
to cattle, that I think is one of the strongest messages that the films can possibly have.
Yep.
Because
You're not human anymore.
yeah,
You're food.
yeah, and if you're going with Tobe Hooper's original idea, like, you're cannon fodder. Like, you are shipped across the world to go die.
Right.
And that's something that I really like, that the prequel to this tackles, because one of the characters is a draft dodger.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little like, acknowledging how it all started.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that basic reduction of everything to, like, you're just going to end up cut up on a slab.
Yeah.
And you're going to get eaten as if you were a piece of bacon.
No matter how much you scream or beg or plead, it doesn't matter. You're no longer a human. You're going to your dinner.
Yeah.
There's no humanity.
No.
There's none to be seen.
And it really, this is, I guess this opens things up for looking at how this rural community, which is really just the family, how in a way they come to define, or they come to determine, I should say, their own rules.
Yeah. And there's not really any rules.
Yeah. Well, just like, something like not.
Sorry, I was thinking when I said that I was thinking about the original. There is no film.
Oh yeah.
You're talking about
Yeah. The way that the family determines its own rules or its own sense of order, like in the way that the family in the original, first 4 movies are cannibals.
Yeah.
And this is something that we never get that for certain. Like, we don't know.
Right. We see human bones, human remains, but we never, there's never a sense of, they're eating people.
Like all the the meat that they see.
Yeah.
Was it Aaron that walks into the room and sees all of the pieces of meat
Yeah.
that are hanging? Like, we don't know what they're doing with them.
Right.
And, you know, so like here in this little society, like cannibalism is okay. Incest is okay. Stealing children,
Yes.
raising them as your own,
Fine.
that's fine. Yeah. There's no, it's almost like in a complete and total act of defiance for the rest of society.
Right.
Whatever doesn't go out there goes in here.
Yeah.
Murder, incest, whatever, it's all good because it's not there.
It's so isolated. That's
Yeah.
why I think it works the most here, because in the original, there's a lot of, like, in the beginning where it's near, like, you know, people and a highway and there's cars and
Yeah.
stuff, and like in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, yeah, they're right now they're in the middle of kind of nowhere, but not that far that way. There's like a big cemetery or a highway or stuff. There's people, but
Mhm.
here, it's nothing. In the opening film, you never see anything, not even another car. It's just them in this van. That's it. It feels so much more like this is literally in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere.
Yeah, and I think that helps to really like further this idea that the Hewitt family is kind of like a stand-in for Texas at large.
Mm-hmm.
That like the way that the rest of the country looks at Texas and thinks of Texas, and the way that Texas wants itself to be, that's kind of the relationship between, you know, like they'll do something fucking crazy, like, oh, you don't need a gun permit to carry like a fucking bazooka, you know, like something like that.
Right.
You know, or like you can walk in a church and a school with like guns, like right there on your hip, no conceal, no permit, whatever, you know, anything like that. Like, and we, as the rest of the country,
Well, some of it.
yeah, some of us, you know, others are like, we should do that too.
Yeah.
You know, but like for those of us who have thinking brains, we can look at that and say, are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
And that is the relationship that we have with this family. So we align our thinking with these kids. So that way, when they encounter this extremely backwards thinking society, we're just like, oh my God, I can't believe these people do that.
Right.
And as a result, that judgment, as well as our encroachment on their land, justifies everything that they do to everyone else. And that's the extremely fascinating dynamic at the heart of Texas Chainsaw, is that it is subverting all of this conservative thinking to show just how brutal it is.
Yeah. Because the fascinating thing is, for this one, in the original, this isn't a fuck around and find out situation. This is just we're literally just trying to get home.
Yeah.
There's like no barrier to cross. It's literally just like, knock, knock. Hey, we need to use phone, we need gas. We just want to get home. There's no like meddling. Maybe there's a bit more with like the marijuana, but they threw that out. They just had the little toke.
Yeah.
And that was it. Even like the original, it was even less so. Just literally them just wanting to get gas and go home.
Mm-hmm. And that right there, like I'm glad that you brought up this dimension, because the way in which this version in particular really highlights the the randomness of violence.
Uh-huh.
Like that things are not like none of this is preordained. Like you're not doing it because you're being punished by God. Like
You're just there.
you're there. Because the hitchhiker that they pick up,
Yeah.
not the hitchhiker that they pick up, the girl,
Yeah.
the first hitchhiker says, imagine, like, can you imagine, like, if I wasn't there to be picked up, I wouldn't be here with you guys. And then, like, the woman who gets picked up again, like, someone says something like you're lucky that we found you,
Yeah.
or like that we got you, and like there's just this idea that someone was in right place, right time,
Yeah.
right place, wrong time, you know, any combination of such. And so for these kids to find themselves in this hellish scenario is pure chance.
Yeah.
Like the entirety of Texas is so fucking huge.
Yes. It's bigger than most European countries.
Yeah. So the idea that you would go and stop in this one little strip of land,
Yeah.
and that you would find this one little family who has this one little tendency to eat people
And still babies.
and steal babies, like that's a lot. Like that's a lot of bad luck.
Yeah. Whatever happens to these characters, it's not their fault.
Yeah. And from the very first movie to this one, like looking at any of these terrible things that happen to you, likely happen to you for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone who gets drafted, you didn't have a choice in that. It is completely random. Where you get deployed, who you end up, you know, in a platoon with, what mission you might be partaking on, what village you might be sent to like bomb,
Right.
or, you know, burn to the ground. Like you are not in charge of your life. And as a result, you are going to see nothing but death and destruction.
Yeah.
And so now, in 2003, we have a Texan for a president.
Yes.
And I know that he was born in Connecticut.
Right.
It doesn't fucking matter.
No.
George W. Bush
He's a Texan.
is a Texan. Okay? That Texan aggression, that Texan assertion that you can't fuck with me,
Uh-huh.
or you can't fuck with us, was manipulated in order to get us fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
But that's still, like, that bravado is on the news every night. You know, him in the, like, jet suit with the helmet saying mission accomplished.
Right.
When the mission was not accomplished. The mission was far from accomplished by like 18 years. You know, like that. Like, that's Texas. And like, it's that level of that kind of thinking that I think the rest of the country was not prepared for.
Right. And what were they to do? Like, 9/11 happened. They were going to be on board with anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, speaking of coincidences, I don't think that it's a coincidence that this remake comes out during this time. Like, there's an 8-year gap between the previous one and this one.
Uh-huh.
I think that there's a pretty clear reason for that.
I think this film would have hit the nail harder if it wasn't set in 1974. If it was set in 2003. Because it doesn't need to be set in 1974.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's from 1974. Because they are so isolated from the rest of society.
Not much would have changed.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, the kids themselves don't look like they're from 1974. The film doesn't feel like it's from 74. It could have just been, and it's inconsequential at the end of the day because but it would just add that much more.
I mean, just looking at the way that the newest one is able to do that. Like, you can have characters with cell phones and in the present, but in this very antiquated land, and it's still the same kind of effect.
Yeah.
What is the scariest scene for you?
The scene in the car with glasses and the sheriff
Oh, with Andy?
with the gun.
Yeah.
That's
Holy shit.
that's the dinner scene. That is the dinner scene.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that
Leatherface for me isn't scary in this film because it's Leatherface. It's just Leatherface. I know it's Bill. He runs, he goes, brr. But the film kind of took it out of me because every time there are some instances where he's like chasing after Jessica Biel, and he leaps. You don't hear a Leatherface type grunt. You don't hear like, brr. You hear like some guy going, It's like it's the most normal ass. Just a dude grunt. Like it doesn't. It's like that's not what he's supposed to sound like. I heard him scream like, like no, nope, sorry, film, you took it out. But on the other hand, this goddamn disturbing, tense, slow, methodical scene,
yeah.
is the scariest part of the film.
I don't seem to have much of an imagination. Why don't you go ahead and show me?
Yes.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Man. Like, as soon as he says, like, I don't think a gun can fire itself without a finger on the trigger. Don't you?
Cocks it.
Yeah. Oh, that scene's really just like he has to wipe away the.
Arlie Hermy's such a fucking good actor.
Yeah. Yeah, just with those crazy eyebrows of his, like.
And glasses, like just
yeah.
That's genuine fear.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone does such a good job in this film.
Also hilarious when they go to put the body in the back seat.
Yeah,
and he yells at them to put it in the trunk instead.
Yeah, don't put it in my car. There are funny moments in this film.
Yeah.
This is like the original.
Yeah, and I think it needs those moments of like.
Yeah, even though it's like a dark comedy, it's still comedy. And when they're wrapping the body in just kitchen cellophane plastic wrap.
Oh man. Yeah, and then
they're just wrapping up his dinner. That's his dinner.
That's a doggy bag.
Yeah. All it needs is a tinfoil swan. Just turn her into a tinfoil swan. I think there's a lot of things in this film that don't get enough credit, that it does so subtly that you yourself have the light bulb moment, and the film doesn't tell you, doesn't hinder on it, doesn't explain anything, especially when they're out in the property and there's all those cars, overgrown, rusted. First you think, oh, just, some properties are like that. They just have a bunch of old busted out cars that were probably going to be fixed one day and didn't never happening. But the more you watch it and the more you think of like, oh, those aren't their cars. Those are the victims' cars. Mm-hmm. And the original is a similar thing, but I think they paid too much attention to it. I know it's like a split second. They're like, hey, what's under here? And it's all like tarped over and that like camouflage, which is very clever, which is very good. In case a plane or helicopter comes over, don't know what it is, but they don't even acknowledge or even mention like, hey, all these cars, they're just sitting in the junk pile. They see the pictures and stuff and just fantastic.
Yeah, I really enjoy the production design of the house. Like the house every time, like in every movie. You know that the original house is now a restaurant?
Is it?
Yeah. I think specifically, I think it's a barbecue place.
That's not on accident.
I hope it is. And I hope that they just don't know.
Right.
But yeah. Like, I don't know what the house that's in this one, I don't know what that's doing.
Okay, so that's the interior house. That's either someone's house or a set or something. But the exterior, you just look, that's a hollowed out abandoned house. That's like that's a gutted house. And it's weird because they showed the shots of the house, the exterior, and there's like nothing around it. You can clearly see there's nothing around it. But then like in the close-up more shots of the property, there's like sheds and junk. It's like these are two different locations, but that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
At least it's not as bad as the stupid woods that I think is like the weakest part of the film. Just these woods.
Yeah.
Just they don't belong there. But it's shot really pretty with all those God rays. Still, there's pretty shots of the houses when it's like it's nighttime and those big, massive searchlights that are behind it. The movie uses a lot of like big like searchlights to be like to disguise as like moon rays, especially when Jessica Biel and Glasses are like running away and they're in that old more abandoned house. They open the door. There's all that massive light coming in. It's so pretty. I wish films did that. They don't do that anymore. And it's stylistically like very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks.
I was just thinking of the way that Andy gets killed. Yeah.
And like that's what I'm talking about. They don't really show it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just. Yeah, that was rough. But that scene where she puts him in a corner.
Yeah.
And she's in
the
closet with the rats.
Yeah, that's like straight out of like a Friday the 13th film.
Yeah, that's just like, ugh. You know, and all the rats are climbing up, and you're like, rats, be quiet.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. I just imagine her like holding him around, like, don't screw this up for us.
This means as much to you as it does to me.
But then he does a Jason move and just out of the wall,
yeah,
just gets her.
Because no matter what, you are in someone else's territory.
Yeah.
And they know it better than you.
Yeah.
It's what happened to us in Vietnam, and it's what happened to us in the Middle East. Like you can't just go into someone else's backyard and expect to be on top.
Yeah.
Like no matter how prepared you think you are, like someone's knowledge of their own surroundings is always going to, you know, at least give them an upper hand.
Yep.
And like consistently, like every Texas Chainsaw movie does that, where like outsiders come in, they think they know.
Yeah, whether it's a house or an amusement park.
Yeah. You know, or like when Aaron is running into the meat factory.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, she's got to be safe here. Of course, Leatherface knew where she was going.
Yeah, that part's like the most bullshit to me because like he hurt his leg. He's like a far away at like behind her, and he's at the meat plant. It just so happens to be like 2 feet behind her. But that's like for all of them because.
Well, I think that just shows that this has happened many times before.
Right.
And in terms of where someone is likely to go, like Leatherface might be developmentally challenged, but he's not dumb.
No.
And his ability to outwit people.
Yeah, he does it quite a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah. You know, and even when he gets his arm cut off,
yeah.
like he is still
He's still going after it.
On it.
Yeah.
And I just love the sight of him trying to get his arm off of the chainsaw so that he can hold it. Mm-hmm. Like, and just how frustrated he is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This Leatherface, I think, is the scariest one.
He's just a big hulking.
Yeah.
With that, like, It's a bit brighter than like the original, because the original is just like a lapdog, a lackey.
Yeah. The relationship dynamic is definitely changed to where like he's not so much yeah, like you said, like a lapdog to the family. Like
Yeah.
the family doesn't this family doesn't seem to mistreat him
No.
in the way that previous families have done to
Yeah.
Leatherface, to where like, you know, they're constantly yelling at him, you know, completely unfazed by the fact that he's the biggest person in the room.
Yeah.
And has a chainsaw, like, because they know that he's not going to do anything to them.
Right.
And so they can talk to him however they want. But this one seems more like, almost like he does his own thing.
Yeah.
Like he has his own, you know, like, I mean, previous Leatherfaces have been big on like sewing,
Yeah.
skin.
Yeah. This one feels like their chef.
Yeah.
He knows his meat and his cuts and, you know, how to prepare.
Yeah. And I think the dressing him in the butcher's clothing is a good, you know, whereas what in like 2 and 3 is like wearing a suit.
He was wearing a suit in the first one.
The colors in 2 and 3 pop out more to me. So,
Yep.
Yeah, you know, he's like, it's dressed somewhat
Appropriately.
Yeah. Yeah, but this one's like he has a role.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, that mask is just like, it's terrifying when he has Kemper's face on.
Yes.
Especially when Aaron sees it.
Yeah.
But his regular mask is just fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Speaking of time period, this is the decade of remakes. Like,
yes, and this director,
Marcus Nispel, would go on to direct the Friday the 13th remake.
did not revive the franchise.
No, unfortunately.
It's interesting that the Friday the 13th and Nightmare, they both have remakes,
and they were both really good. I liked both of them.
I mean, I like Friday the 13th. I didn't see the remake of Nightmare, but I saw the Friday the 13th remake. It's just, you know, it's I feel like a nice run of the mill, just Friday the 13th film.
Yeah.
Just it's what
solid.
you expect. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
But like that one's always been kind of the same.
Yeah.
Those films. So I'm like, if it's just, you know, the inventive deaths that you give it, yeah, that's good Friday the 13th for me.
And even
He did Conan. He did the Conan remake.
Yeah. And did that. Oh yeah, and then the writer, Scott Kosar, wrote, in addition to this script, he wrote the script for the Amityville Horror remake.
I think I like that
with
one.
Ryan Reynolds.
I like that one quite a bit.
He wrote the Crazies remake from like 2010.
I watched that one too. I didn't watch the original, but that one I kind of liked.
He had a big role on Bates Motel.
I still need to watch that.
Like
I know it's fantastic.
Wrote a bunch, and I mean, not a remake, but he also wrote The Machinist. So
Okay.
yeah, so like this is, and so like that's just those two, and then you figure this is also the era of all of the J horror movies being Americanized. So like we have
The Ring
and The Grudge.
Yep.
Coming out during this time. And then, you know, like Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah.
Was remade. Like just so many like classic.
Yeah.
American horror films are getting the new generation treatment.
Yeah.
And
it's the new millennium.
Yeah. And it's like we're getting that now, except they're legacy sequels.
Yes.
You know.
Sometimes I don't know if they work or not. Everyone wants the new ones.
Yeah. Hopefully it ends. I hope it ends. I need it to end.
It's not going to end.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like there was a need. Oh, The Mummy.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Stephen Summers.
Uh-huh.
Well, that was like 99.
But still, like,
Yeah, in that window.
yeah. I mean, the sequels are coming out during this time. I think it maybe because the desire for remakes is not to make them like darker or anything, like to make them, I think maybe just like scarier, or to make them.
Here's my role when it comes to remake, because I know people are just violently hating towards remakes no matter what. If the remake is different from the original, it can do things different, that's a good remake. This is like the structure is still there vaguely of the original, but it's completely different. The family's different, the teens are different, the situation is all different.
Yeah, and I think for those reasons, it's absolutely worth watching.
It's a good remake.
Yeah, definitely one of the best, especially in terms of horror. So Aaron steals the baby.
Yep. Which is, I feel, is kind of out of nowhere, but that's fine.
Yeah. I think, like, because she knows that
it's not, it's
the girl
yeah.
that they picked up in the beginning because they found the picture. Otherwise, I don't think she would steal the baby.
Or maybe because she knows it's just not their baby. She's like, I'm going to get you out of this.
Yeah. So something that I really love is misdirection.
Yes.
Misdirection's wonderful. I love when it's pulled off well.
Yep.
Because it's fun. Cause you're like, oh, I'm watching this. And
that's
like,
why I love Rian Johnson films so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And so here we think that Aaron, who has the wonderful skill of
hot wiring
cars, that she's so she gets picked up by the truck.
Yeah.
And the guy is going back towards
and it's the same thing from the girl.
And he stops and he's like, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And he goes to the family
who's at the gas station.
Yeah. And she gets out and you see her hot wiring, and the sheriff is got his gun out and he's going to the truck, and he opens that door, and you're expecting him to see her, and she's not there. And all of a sudden you just hear
police car,
and then fucking just runs him over multiple times.
Now I know, like, not knowing already, but like when they were doing that transition, I'm like, she's not in there. I know she's not. But it's the fact that, like, it's coming and it's going to be satisfying, because this is a very satisfying ending.
Yeah.
It's a very cathartic ending.
Yeah.
This is like prime final girl winning out ending.
Yeah. Leatherface gets one good swipe on the car. But he doesn't get like a tire or anything.
He's got one arm.
Yeah. So he's just like similar to the end of the first one. He's just like flailing about.
Yeah.
The sheriff is like done.
Yeah, he got run over like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even I'm thinking, like, once is enough. You don't have to keep, but okay.
Yeah. At least for good measure.
Right.
You don't want to leave it to chance. And then she just drives away.
Yeah.
And clearly she tells sheriffs in another county, or that county, just like far away.
Because there's a vignette opening.
Yeah.
I know that's the word, but there's an opening by the same narrator from the original.
John Larroquette.
Yep. If you want to check out more of his, like, watch The Librarians. Librarians is a great show. He's in that.
Night Jury?
He may be. I know him mainly from The Librarians, which is a fun show. But yeah, he's returned as narrator. He's always great. And really, I think, really good, like, opening, the splicing of the evidence and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it, like, very much sets up the tone. And it just, I think, is a bit more impactful opening than just the orange wording, the words of the first one.
The sheriffs that Aaron notifies go to
The house,
the Hewitt house.
the basement. You would think there'd be more of them there.
Yeah.
There's the two of them. That's fine.
And they have, because in the beginning, we were told that the sheriff's investigated.
Yeah.
And now we've gone full circle. We've seen what they were investigating.
Yeah. Oh, this.
And this, I think, scared me the most. Like seeing it as a kid, especially with that sound that like meow,
Yeah.
or whatever, that like, because they played that sound up in the trailer, that like photograph being taken sound.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you know, one of the sheriffs just gets wrecked and is like down on the floor, and you just see like that
Blurry face.
Yeah.
That's good.
And it's just like, and then, you know, the voiceover is like,
The only recorded.
yeah, and he was never apprehended.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah, because you're like, oh no.
He's still out there.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
And remembering all the bits of evidence that you're seeing and just like the scratches on the nails and seeing the nails just come off like, oh. Mm-mm. That was like the most squelchy bit for me because anything with fingernails just,
Yeah, no.
I'm going to ask you a controversial question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the remake is better than the original?
No.
No?
No. It gets close. I keep it in a separate thing. And if it isn't better, it's not by that much. Like in terms of just like, I don't know, just the quality of it and like what it does with the material. Like I think it's spot on. The original is just, that's just a bolt of lightning.
I know, because nothing like it had ever been made at a time.
And like, it's just not like not a thing you can find. Like we're not bountiful with movies like that.
Right.
You know, it's a very singular experience. So the comparison for me would only be in terms of telling that story. But in terms of like as a movie itself, the original is just like one of my favorites in general. So, but this is definitely one of the best remakes I've ever seen.
I don't know what to say in regard of which one's better, because I did this in a weird way because I watched the original first. No, sorry. I watched the remake first. Then I watched the original today. But this isn't even my first Texas Chainsaw movie. My first one was Texas 2, which I really like. And that's a ton of fun. It's just fun, stupid, just... Yeah. It's great. So, I don't know which one I like more. I feel like I'm probably going to get like crucified for saying it, but I had a greater reaction to the remake. I finished that one saying like, that was a really good film. Not like knowing the reputation of like the original and, you know, just seeing bits and pieces of it there, not really get the whole thing. Because this one I kind of went in like blind. But that one I knew enough about. So it's like, the film still is like ahead of its time in what it like visually, what it's showing, just all the fantastic close-up shots of like Sally's eyes and everything in the dinner scene, which is like the crux of the film. But to me, like that's like the main course of it. It's kind of towards the end, but throughout the remake, it's just a wonderful course throughout. Just a wonderful, like, I felt a more satisfying like build up and everything. I think the presentation as a whole just, for me, better, which in no way saying that the original isn't good. Because of course it is, because we wouldn't have gotten this one.
Yeah.
But if I were to say like which one I would want to watch more of and again, be the remake.
That's fair. Do you think we should do the randomizer? Is it randomizer time?
It is, and we are going to announce. We know what our next episode is because we're
for the one after.
Yes, because we're doing 2 episodes this week because we had just reached I think we talked about this before, but it's official. We reached our 1,000 downloads. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone who's downloaded, listened to it. It's 1,000 people. Maybe not 1,000 people. Just 1,000 downloads in itself is crazy.
Yeah,
that's insane. So we're doing a little 1,000 download special.
House of 1,000 downloads.
Yes. But that's gonna be this week. So we're gonna give you 2 juicy episodes. And hopefully you'll like that one. But we need to know what next week's episode is going to be. What do we got, Matthew?
Huh.
What's next?
American Mary.
I don't know what that is.
It's on Shudder.
Okay.
Want me to do it again?
No. It's chosen.
Okay.
American Mary.
American Mary. American Mary. Yeah. Well, that's good. I think we got longer for this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised because I just so good.
Yeah.
It's a lot to talk about.
Maybe at some point we'll do one of the others. Who knows?
Other what?
Some of the other Texas Chainsaws.
Sure.
Yeah. Put
I would love to talk about 2. I love 2 so much.
Yeah, 2's fun. 2's a lot of fun. I was gonna say
Yes.
that the cow's doing.
Mooing
Okay.
and cows.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to try to keep the little essay segment going
Okay.
for the Facebook page / my personal WordPress.
Yep.
And
do a little thing for the
yeah, I might record
bonus episode.
Yeah.
That did pretty well.
Yeah, it did. The essay that I'm working on now is an expansion of the little review that I wrote for the Netflix Texas Chainsaw. So just thinking more on that.
Okay.
So that might be up, should be up at some point this week. And that'll be the little companion piece. Get all your Texas Chainsaw needs. I guess like the last thing that I'll say about how you can prevent Texas Chainsaw Massacre from happening to you, is only stop at a Buc-ee's
or Shell station. Shell's reliable.
Yeah, but you go to Buc-ee's. I mean, they have world-class bathrooms, like
and like 50,000 people there.
Yeah, Buc-ee's is the best.
Buc-ee will protect you.
Buc-ee absolutely will. Leatherface is not gonna mess with Buc-ee.
No.
Also, I'm pretty sure that the barbecue in Buc-ee's has like gentrified the Hewitt family.
Yeah. They can't go. They can't go national.
They can't keep up.
They can't have a chain.
Yeah. They got Buc-ee's. They got this goddamn little beaver.
Yeah.
Just outselling them left and right.
Those beaver nuggets. I mean, that's not meat, but you know.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, Buc-ee's is so good. If Buc-ee's wants to sponsor us, that would be great.
We'll eat your barbecue.
Yeah. We'll eat the barbecue on air.
Oh, yeah. I'll do that. Good lunch.
I'll cover myself in barbecue sauce.
For you, Bucky.
Just for Bucky. Especially if it means that Leatherface won't come near me.
No. They don't use barbecue sauce.
No. You know, it's what is it? I think it's in the third. Is it the second or the third one that they enter the chili? Family enters the chili competition.
I don't think it's the second one.
I think it's the third one then.
A chili cook-off? I'm gonna have to watch the third one.
Yeah. Third one's good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, join us for next time.
Yep.
Where we'll have House of 1,000 Corpses.
Yep.
And then the time after that, we'll have American Mary.
Yep.
And who knows what else the future holds for the future. I'm Matthew Jimenez.
I bet you can stuff a golf ball through a garden hose.
And that's Visceral Reactions.